Hey, my name is Kov. This happened to me about 4 years ago, and it still has me questioning the whole situation. One hot summer in the United Kingdom, I was going about my day until my mother, little sister, and I went over to my grandparents' house. We stayed there until it got dark. As we parked the car in front of our house, we all got out, shut the doors, and locked it. While walking to the door, I looked up at my bedroom window. That's when I saw it. A black silhouette slightly slouched behind the curtain, just visible enough to notice. I had another sister who was home at the time, so I thought it was her trying to scare me. I called out to her, but the figure didn't move. I shrugged it off, thinking I'd laugh with her about it upstairs later, but when we walked inside, my heart dropped. She was sitting on the couch studying. I started to panic. I knew I had seen someone or something staring down at me from my window. It couldn't have been my brother. He was asleep for work in the morning. Hesitantly, I walked upstairs and turned on the bedroom light. The room was perfectly normal, nothing out of place. I broke down crying to my mother about it, and she let me sleep in her room that night. Weeks later, I was finally back in my room. That's when something else began. My sister and I noticed a rotting smell in our bedroom. At first, only our mother picked up on it. She questioned us, but we were always clean. Still, the smell grew worse, and soon my brother and mother were noticing it too. She asked my stepdad to break open a shelf, thinking a rat might have died inside. But there was nothing, and the stench only got stronger in the heat of the day, then faded at night. Eventually, I moved out of my room and started sleeping on the floor in my mother's room. My sister stayed behind. The smell drove my mother crazy. She finally called the council, who sent investigators. Nothing. Days later, she called again. This time, the police came. We lived in an apartment. The officers began knocking on doors upstairs, questioning neighbors until they reached one unit. The door was locked, or at least it should have been. When they tried forcing it open, it felt heavy. Finally, they pried it open, and that's when they found her. Behind the door lay the body of an elderly woman. One of the cops rushed outside to throw up. She had been dead 4 days. Later, my mother sat my sister and me down. She told us quietly, "Girls, that smell you've been inhaling was a corpse." We were in utter shock. My sister asked if they knew how she died. My mother said they're not sure. She was found behind her front door, so maybe a stroke, maybe a heart attack. The saddest part, they discovered she had no family. She lived alone and she died alone. To this day, I still wonder if the silhouette I saw in my bedroom window was her. Maybe she was reaching out. Maybe she's still in that room with me. My family has had a history of horror and terrible things. I can remember all the stories that my aunts and uncles would tell me, but the earliest story I can remember was told to me by my mother. It was the late 90s South. My mother was 15 years old at the time, living in Puerto Rico with her family. My mother had a friend. For privacy, I'll call her Carmen. They were best friends. They always played together and had sleepovers. Carmen was a huge part of my mother's childhood. One day, when my mother and Carmen were playing outside, a man approached them. He wasn't the spooky, scary old man or the creepy guy you'd hear about in kidnapper stories. He was tall and handsome. My mother and Carmen knew him. Everyone did. He was well known around the church and the town for his kindness and good looks. He smiled and they smiled back. They knew him, so they thought they could trust him. "Hey, Lydia. Hey, Carmen. What are you girls doing?" he asked with his usual smile. My mother and Carmen laughed and chatted with him, but then the conversation took a turn. He suddenly sighed. "What's wrong?" Carmen asked. "It's just that my fridge is broken at my house and no one wants to help me. I've asked all my friends, but they all said no." Carmen looked at my mother and smiled. My mum knew that smile always meant Carmen had an idea. "You know, me and Lydia could help," Carmen said brightly. His sad face lit up. "Really, I'd appreciate that." Despite Carmen thinking it was fine, my mother didn't. She whispered, "Carmen, we've never even been to his house. Your parents would never allow it. And besides, he's strong and big. Why would he need our help?" Carmen just rolled her eyes and chuckled. "Don't be such a scaredy cat, Lydia. He's super nice and we both know him. If you don't want to, I'll just go with him myself." Before my mum could respond, Carmen was already walking toward the man's car. My mother froze. She wanted to call out, but she couldn't move. She just stood there watching as Carmen climbed into the car. The engine started. Carmen waved from the window. My mother forced a nervous smile and waved back as the car drove away. The next day, my mother was washing dishes when she heard voices in the living room. She peeked and saw Carmen's parents talking to hers. When they noticed her, they rushed over. "Lydia, dear, do you know where Carmen is?" they asked. Her parents stood beside her, waiting for an answer. My mother replied, "Yes, she went with Tulio to help him fix his fridge." The room fell silent. Her parents looked concerned. Carmen's parents looked terrified. They thanked her, then quickly left. My mother felt uneasy. It was unlike Carmen to not come home. She always came home when the streetlights turned on. A day later, my mother was walking to school when she noticed a commotion near a house. Curious, she walked over and froze in horror. Carmen had been found. Her body was stuffed inside a black garbage bag. Her face was twisted in terror, her eyes rolled back. Behind the police tape, my mother saw Carmen's parents crying. After Carmen left with the man, he had taken her to his house and killed her. It was one of his neighbors who discovered the truth. Their dog had run to a garbage bag, scratching at it. When the neighbor looked closer, they saw Carmen, and they immediately called the police. Nobody could believe it. The kindest, most trusted man in their town had done the most evil thing. My mother never saw him again. But even now, she still has nightmares about him.